Thank you. Coach Mooney, Hofstra has a really good backcourt, and I wonder if the Spiders were on the recruiting radar for Jalen Ray, who's one of those really good backcourt players for Hofstra. And could you talk about him and just your impressions of what they got at guard?
Yeah, well, really good backcourt. The guys are, they're very confident, experienced. They play with a really good carefree style. They were down the other day to Bonaventure by over 20, came back and took a lead in the second half. And part of that is their confidence and this, they forget a missed shot or a turnover, and they continue to be aggressive and really cause problems for everybody. So we're going to need to really focus a lot of attention on those guys, and I think really highly of those guys, and the numbers they're putting up are very impressive.
If you allow me to follow up to ask if the Spiders are permitted to return home following this game for Christmas break, or is the University of Richmond going to request that they just hang around here?
No, our guys are going to go home. So we have their arrangements set for following the game. Some guys who are driving distance, obviously, and then some flights for guys early the next morning.
Are you concerned about testing on coming back, and will you leave them with instructions not to socialize?
I'm concerned about testing every time we get tested. We'll leave them with, I wouldn't put it that way, John, but I'll make sure that we talk about some of the things that have helped keep us, that have helped us so far this season, and make sure that we recognize how important it is to have negative tests.
Did you consider requesting that they hang around here?
Well, I know it's, from the coaches that I've talked to and the things that I've read, it feels like, there are quite a few programs staying. Some are going home. Not really. We've been while I've been here, our guys have been here since I think July 17th or so. That's a long time, and I thought it was important for them and for their families to spend some time together at Christmas.
Thank you, Coach.
Thanks, John.
Chris, I was just wondering if, you've given any thought at all to, I know there's been no statement made, but Andre Weir hasn't really got much action this year. Are you guys considering a red shirt for him?
Well, you don't really need to red shirt this year because everybody gets the extra year. So, that's something that, this would be the time generally where we would start to talk about if guys hadn't played yet. With the condensed schedule, it's harder. You're trying to play the best teams you can, so you don't have as much playing time in certain situations. But with the rule that was adopted, nobody really needs to redshirt because it'd be the same thing if you you're only going to get this year. Basically, is not going to count. So it's not like you would get a sixth year if you did that.
Hey, Chris, when do the guys come back?
The guys will come back on the 26th. So we will come back, and then we'll have testing lane that late afternoon. So we'll, similar to what we did in July, the guys will come back and they'll be, essentially alone, and we won't practice. We won't do anything until we have the results of that first test back. So I think that testing is going to be late afternoon on the 26th.
Who's taking Goose home with him?
Appreciate you asking, Lane. Connor Crabtree.
Back to Eric English's hometown, as a matter of fact. I know that now.
How about that?
I mean, it's a neat story, but I mean, Andre, before this, I think Jake was probably had the furthest to go of anybody. But Andre, have you had to handle him any differently just because of all the hoops that it would normally take to get him back, and then the fact that going home for him is not an option at all?
Yeah, and I think that he understands that and knows when he went home in March, that was fairly difficult. Returning turned out to be easier, but had it been a couple weeks earlier, that would have been really difficult. So I think he knows, that's kind of the deal that he has made. Even during regular times, it's tight around Christmas. So in the past, he's spent time with Matt Grace's family, and this year he's going to go with Connor Crabtree. So I think he just understands and knows that that's part of the deal.
Does Hofstra's selection as preseason favorite to win their conference get extra attention from your guys, or your guys are so veteran at this point they know enough to believe what they see on film?
Yeah, well, no, I think it does get attention. We've played a fair amount of teams that have picked to win or be very high in their league. So, I think that gets a lot of attention. I think we know from proximity how good the CAA is, and Hofstra's a defending champ and won the conference tournament last year, and they have a really good team, and so are very earning of the projection, and hopefully we can come out and just really be zeroed in and play our game as we tip off.
Is there anything you saw in their game against Bonaventure? That was another one where they were down by 20 plus points at one point and came back, and second half runs are a thing. It's been a big topic of discussion for you guys.
Yeah. I mean, if you watch enough college basketball, that's kind of how many games go. So, but yeah, they play very composed. And so I feel like whether they're up 10, down 10, they're playing at a very good pace. The guards are very aggressive. They like having the ball in their hands to be able to make plays. So I think I mean this in a really positive way, being carefree like that is a real help. There's less tension in the game for them, I feel like, and they're so experienced. So so just being able they can string together long runs because of their ability to score in bunches, especially the two guards. So that's going to be really important. Whether we're ahead or behind, it's going to be really important to each possession defend those guys and not let up, even though they're playing at a very even pace.
Hey, Chris, I don't know if you watched them at all last year, but with an interim head coach, with Coach Mihalik not there, are they different, the same? Have you noticed anything?
I'd say pretty similar. They've played, most games they play the entire game playing zone, which they have done for the past few years. I'm sure, some of the details of substituting or late clock situations might be a little bit different, but very, very similar to how they've been. I was able to watch them a few times last year, and very similar to how they've been.
And can you kind of comment on Ray and just how prolific a scorer he is and kind of what makes him tick?
Yeah. Well, confidence, number one. Watching the game in scouting today against Monmouth, a couple of possessions that didn't go perfectly for him. And the next time he had the ball, he tried just as hard and tried to score. And so, kind of being resilient, not having much of a memory, staying aggressive, that's not easy for every guy to do. And he seems to be very comfortable with that. And, that's the thing that has stood out to me the most, a short memory and, great skill and ability to score the ball, but a short memory and a sense of aggression all the time.
Hey,
Coach, I have a writing question.
I was
for
going to
Mark
ask.
Davis.
I was going to circle back and ask if Jalen Ray was on Richmond's recruiting radar, or not necessarily. He's a Hampton guy.
Yeah. I would say, John, that at different stages of the recruiting, probably every Virginia guy is on our radar. But we did not get necessarily very far along in that process.
Coach, a writing question from Mark Davis. What have you done the last couple of days to try to get the team to address some of the second half struggles you've seen the last couple times out?
We've talked about it. We've talked about it, staying aggressive, continuing to try to do the things that we've done well. It's hard to obviously replicate and practice that kind of a game situation. So just talked about making sure that we stay aggressive and stay to the game plan. And if we have to make an adjustment, being able to make that adjustment aggressively, and not be comfortable no matter what the game is. We want to just, be confident, but not necessarily comfortable, and just continue to play and play through leads or play when we're trailing, whatever that might be.
Coach Mooney, among your 4 incoming freshmen, Dredd, Noyes, Nelson, Randolph, do you know if any or all of those fellows are having senior seasons, and what recommendation do you give those who aren't?
Yeah, I think that Nelson is the only one that isn't right here in Richmond, John. In talking to those guys, well, they're in all honesty, they're playing more basketball than if they were having a season. I don't know if that is, that might come as a surprise, but they're playing a lot more basketball because there's more time to work with trainers and work out with their group and their teammates, and, pick up games in the evenings, all those sorts of things. And I feel really bad for Jason. He's had a storied career right here in Richmond. And so, an opportunity to win another state championship on a great team, to repeat as the player of the year. Those are probably pretty historic things that he's missing out on. And really to just, kind of lose yourself in basketball, is, when you're over there, just, the more you're focusing on improving your shooting or your ball handling or playing in that game, the less you're thinking about, missing your senior season. So just to kind of keep your head and, keep your head down, keep working on basketball. And, but I'm sure it's, I would think it's pretty devastating, especially for someone who's had such a storied career.
Thank
Have
you,
there been
Coach.
any discussions with any of those guys on a potential, I don't know, maybe with Jason, a guy that's not playing a season, potentially reclassifying and joining the program in the second semester?
Well, that's a good point. Here's the problem is when, we have to have a scholarship available, which we'd have to go through the admissions department. I don't think they would, you know what I mean? And they'd have to be finished their high school requirements, which would tie into the admissions department. So there'd be a lot of hoops to jump through there. And I don't think we'd be able to, I don't think any of those guys, nor Richmond, nor would we have the scholarship to do it.